Let's talk about one of the most hated John Carpenter movies, Ghost of Mars. I saw this opening day with my mother. We got out. She was like, that sucked. And I was like, no way, man. That was a John Carpenter movie. That can't suck. It's not a good movie. That being said, I still have a ton of fun watching this movie for a few reasons. But I will completely say outright, this is a bad movie. Oh man, there's some shit in this. But let's get into the movie. Now, Natasha Henstridge from Species. I mean, every kid I knew in the 90s when Species came out was just hot for this chick, and for good reason. She is wonderful. Ice Cube. I think that producers and directors really need to understand that rappers and horror movies do not work. Busta Rhymes, LL Cool J, Ice Cube, whatever. Please keep them out of horror movies. It's so bad. We got Jason Statham. We've got Pam Grier coming off of Escape from LA. You've got Clea Duvall. And you have got Peter Jason. Good cast. I'm not a big fan of movies that start at the end and then explain themselves backwards, because I feel like that gives away the movie. Like, well, I know she lives, so now I'm not worried about her, and every time she's in peril, I'm just going to be sitting there like, I know she lives. So it just kind of takes the thrill out of it for me. I've just never been a big fan of that whole starting from the and it's not like it has never worked. There's movies, definitely. I mean, Fight Club. There's a few movies that it can work on, but I don't know. I've just never been a big fan of it, and I don't like it here. Yet another flawed protagonist, the main character. She's a drug addict cop. I like that. And this time around, you don't really see this often. You see it here and there, but you don't really see this often. We have a woman who's being the sexual predator creep that's like, you know, forcing these women to fuck her if they want a promotion. And I thought that was a unique spin on it, because it's always men, especially if you're watching a Lifetime movie. Jesus Christ, all men are garbage on that channel. And if you've watched my channel enough, you'll hear me talk about this all the damn time. I love movies where they get to a town and everyone's missing. And this is that kind of movie. So right there alone, I'm already like invested. I'm already sold. Just go on, give me the rest of the movie. I'm there. You've got me in your hands. So I really like that part of it. And also that this is not set on Earth. This is the only Carpenter film that isn't, and it's a nice little change up. We have the villains in this movie who mutilate themselves. And when the chick has like hands cut off and is using it as a bra, I thought that was a really cool idea for whoever was like on the, designing of the monsters and the creatures and whatnot. I just thought that was really cool. Little gag there on them. The villains in this movie reminded me, looks-wise, of the chick in Return of the Living Dead 3, when she's just stuffing all the fucking wires and the hooks and the nails and the glass and everything out of her body and mutilating herself. So I love Return of the Living Dead 3. I'm a big fan of that whole series. I can't wait to review that one. There's a few things in this movie that I think just are so off-putting that the rest of the movie is hurt by it, because I feel like that oh my god, it's so bad. That ghost monster language, whatever the hell that guy is doing. Sound like Chewbacca there, but seriously, it's so dumb. I don't like. God, it's hard to even talk about. It's so stupid. And I think anybody who talks about this movie, that's like one of the first things they're going to bring up as their negatives. In fact, almost everyone I talk to who talks about this film is only talking about negatives, but that's like the primary negative. Another thing is just Ice Cube, while at times can be funny, for the most part is just awful. And it really bogs the film down. Do I think that if a better actor or a more fun actor or something was put in his place, would this be like great? No, I don't think that this film could have been great the way it was done. Yeah, if you want to change everything, yeah, you just take this script and change some little thing. Yeah, of course, you can make any movie great. But just replacing the actor, making it great? No, not really, but man, it would make it a good amount better. There are some scenes with him that are fun, but the rest is cringy. Very, very, very much so. This movie also, the villains getting killed, and then, you know, the monster coming out of them and looking for a new host to infect and turn into one of these things. It reminds me of an awesome movie that we just got last year called Don't Kill It with Dolph Lundgren. If you haven't seen that, it's on Netflix. I highly recommend it over this movie for sure. But it reminded me of that. I'm curious on if that's where Mike Mendez got his idea. I like when they trick the guys who come out to break Desolation out of jail, and they all come in to like say hi to him, and they just like lock the gate behind them as they all walk into the prison cell. Morons. His friends are idiots, and I love it. Their characters are pretty funny, especially like when the guy, he's taking the laugher or the whatever the hell that thing's called, and he puts his thumb over the can and just chops it off, and then when he puts the can up and his thumb's gone and it's like bleeding, and Cubes laughs at him and he's like, "That's what you get, dumbass." That scene is legitimately hilarious. Everything about it is so funny. And every film has one of these, or like a couple anyways, and I always have to notice them, because when a character that we get to know on screen dies, everyone in the movie has to stop and be like, you know, happens in Lord of the Rings like crazy, and I mean, it's like my favorite movie of all time, but you notice it in every movie where like a main character gets hurt or hit or something, and everyone has to stop and be like, but then 50 fucking dudes around him are getting killed and slain, and no one even bothers looking. They're just like, whatever. And there's just these characters, like these random characters that are inserted into films to die. Like they're only there to just randomly get killed in moments where they need someone to die in that scene, but they don't want to kill a main character. And I always just laugh just looking at the cannon fodder surrounding the screen when they pick up like people in prison, or when, you know, in this movie or other movies where they just pick up characters and you see them in the background, and you're just like, you're gonna die and no one ain't gonna give a shit. I would not want to be one of those characters. You got to be a main character if you want anyone to give a shit about your death. It's funny how these characters in this movie, the background characters, like when they die, nothing, just nothing, and then when anyone else, it's like, I always have to laugh anytime it happens. And I love that Jason Statham is very persistent on fucking Natasha Henstridge in this movie, and eventually she goes to like give into it. He's like, I think we're gonna die. I can completely relate to that scene where he's like, well, we're probably gonna die, so I lured you over here to fuck you. And she's like, I see your logic, and goes and kisses him and is about to fuck him until Clea Duvall, you know, shoots the guy and ends up getting, you know, herself infected or whatever. She doesn't get infected. Natasha Henstridge does. And the way she gets out of that is by taking drugs. Like, she gets high to beat the infestation in her of these ghosts or on Mars. I like the idea that we've went to Mars and we've terraformed, and there's like 400,000 people living on the planet, and they've got it like to 88% terraformed, so they're like not gonna have air on Mars like Earth for like 10 years or whatever, and every day over there is like 2 here. I like the idea. I like that they go and they dig underground, they bury things, and then they open up this doorway. Then they didn't think any life existed there before, and they go down and they're trying to read these little hieroglyphic type looking things, and she touches the wall, and as soon as she does, it like disintegrates and it lets out the curse or whatever, and it makes you wonder, like, is this what wiped out what was there before? The colony of people that were there probably thousands, millions of years ago, is this what was there, and now it's lying dormant waiting for the next species to fall on it? Which is, I'm guessing, what they were suggesting. But yeah, that whole little storyline, that's why I'm saying if you could have taken this script and restructured some of the shitty dialogue and thrown in better actors and shot scenes better, yeah, this script could have been made into a good film. But this is during John Carpenter's lull. This is one of his downward spiral. So and they go get on the train, they are home free, and they're like, well, we don't want to let this spread, so let's go back. And it's like, couldn't you just take the train up into the city, tell them, get better prepared, get more of a military presence, come back and exterminate them with like a crew? Like, just going back and blowing up an entire city on some harebrained scheme seems like the best option when you're more than likely all gonna die and you just got to your salvation on the train. It's just silly. I mean, the whole fucking film is, but that made me chuckle. And when Desolation takes the detonator and he throws it in the thing of dynamite, like every other time in the movie, he keeps, and this is like the same shot over and over, I swear it is, where he just keeps hitting the thing and then throwing it out and it blows up on the train next to Clea Duvall. I'm pretty sure it's the same shot 3 times in a row. Doesn't matter, but every single time, they throw like 30 detonators in this movie. Every single time he like hits the top and throws it, it blows up instantly. But this time, he's on the train car, hits it, throws it in the dynamite, jumps across, closes it here, fights this guy for like a good minute or 2, kicks him across, opens the thing, detaches the car, it goes back, and it just so happens to blow up right in that right moment. Wow. That is a stretch, to say the least. For some reason, this one has been set to what, minutes? Did he expect for there to be a fight and to have that much time? And it is silly. And then, of course, it all ends up being for nothing anyways. And he comes to have to rescue her from, her cell or her room or whatever. And he has like these gangster chrome guns. I don't know where he got them, and he throws them to her and he's like, it's time to live. I can't remember his final line. I actually kind of liked it, whatever it was. I forget. But I like the ending. I like that they team up and all that. It's just, and then he like breaks the fourth wall by looking straight at the camera again. Kind of 2 films in a row now. Escape from LA. But God, the dialogue is super cheesy. The action sequences are very 90s action, which is not great. It's okay. Some good gore. I like all the heads on the spikes and, them mutilating themselves and cutting people's heads off and whatnot. That was pretty good. And I like the way Mars looked. So there's plenty of positives to say here. I'm not going to just completely cut this movie to shit. But this film, on the other hand,